My sister went to a concert once, I think on Balboa Island, and there was a folk singer there named Tim Morgan, Morgon, and she brought his album home, and I flipped over it. It was a folk singing thing. He had one song called "The Cat Came Back." That's how he started it. I loved that song. And so when I found out he was going to be one of the performers at this, some type of a singing festival thing at Burbank High School in the auditorium one evening, I decided I want to go to see him for sure. I didn't want to miss that. Right before that, I had been watching a program on the TV show I've Got a Secret. And the guest on there was this amazing guy who was basically a gate crasher, a party crasher. And he had been to many places, big highfalutin places where he didn't belong, and he would find a way to get in. But the coup de grace of his whole career was going to the inauguration dinner following the inauguration of John F. Kennedy when he was elected president. And it was amazing when they showed the picture of it, because he ended up sitting next to Jacqueline Kennedy at that banquet, and somehow he had wormed his way in there to that banquet. So I thought, I would love to be able to do that. It's harmless. So I thought, wait a minute, I'm going to go see Tim Morgan. Maybe I can use that to get in for free, just for the fun of it. So I went a bit early, and the ticket office was locked door that was in front of the entrance to the auditorium. There was nobody in it, and I was looking inside, and all of a sudden I hear a voice behind me, and it was a custodian saying, "Can I help you?" And he said, "Can I help you? You must be the person selling the tickets." And yeah, that's right. Yeah, I am. So he unlocked the door for me, easy as pie. So I got inside, and there I was, and there were all the tickets there in the little racks. They're all assigned seating. So I took one that was front row center, and I slipped it in my pocket. And I thought, this is going to be fun. And but then all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and I opened it, and there's a young girl there, and she says, "What are you doing here?" And of course, I always answer a question with another question, especially when I'm being confronted. And I said, "What are you doing here?" She says, "Well, I'm supposed to sell the tickets." I said, "Well, I'm supposed to sell the tickets as well." She said, "Oh, okay." But I said, "If you want to take the first shift, I'll come back in a little while." She said, "Fine." So she went in, I went out, and now all of a sudden I've got my ticket. And pretty soon they started opening the doors, and in each door somebody was there taking the tickets. And so I thought, well, this was too easy. I want to really make this more complicated. I want to make this more fun. So I went up to one of the people, one of the door just to, if you're facing the ticket office, just to the left of that. And I said, "We've run out of programs on the side door. Can I have a few more?" So he gave me a couple programs. So then I went around to the side door, and I said to the person there taking the tickets and handing out the brochures, I said, "They need you on the other side." So he said, "Oh, okay." So I now had the brochures, I had my ticket, but I didn't want to use it. And I started handing out the brochures as I take the tickets. Hand one out, take the ticket. And then when I ran out of brochures, I just walked in with the last brochure. And I went and sat front row center in the auditorium, and waiting. The curtains were closed. And I was waiting for everybody, but most importantly, Tim Morgan. Then I noticed off to my left, there is a door, there's an entrance there, and then there's a door that leads into the backstage area. It was on the same wall as the auditorium, as the stage. So I saw one guy walk in there, and pretty soon I saw another person walk in. And I thought, wait a minute, I don't need to sit out here. I'd like to see it from behind there. So I just casually at some point stood up, and I walked toward that entrance and paused for a moment. And then I opened that door and walked in. I couldn't believe it. And I walked around there, and there's Tim Morgan with his guitar going, beep, 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 down, down, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, boom, but playing the beginning to The Cat Came Back. So I walked up to him, and I said, I'm supposed to interview you. I'm with the school paper. And I actually had my Burbank High Life pass there. And he says, "Oh, great." And so I asked him a few questions. I didn't have a microphone or didn't take notes. Wasn't really going to write a story about him. I just wanted to talk to him. And then I said, "Is there any way that I could try playing your guitar?" He said, sure. He took it off and put it on me, and I was able to play the beginning of it. It was an E7 at the end, which was really hard. But that was the first song I ever learned to play on the guitar with that tough E7 at the end. But I nailed it. And he loved it and all that stuff. So I said, thank you very much. Then I was hanging around for a while. And there were students there that were assigned to be doing introductions. And when it all started, I could see how that was working, and they were kind of lined up waiting for their turn to introduce something. Well, I ended up going getting in the line. What the heck? Why not? Why introduce one of the guests? And when it was my turn, I had the little script, and I went on stage, and I believe it was Bobby Day, and he had a song a few years back called "Rockin' Robin." And so I read the thing and introduced him, and went backstage, and I thought, this is the greatest thing ever. This is too cool. So uh, so I ended up not only meeting Tim Morgan, but then getting to play his guitar, and then being out on the stage introducing people. Well, then the next thing that happened was that quite funny. It turns out that the person doing the lights in the little light booth just to the left, stage left behind the stage, it was the custodian who was doing the lighting. But he was apparently drunk as hell, and he was messing everything up. And so Miss Wolfson, who was this former Marine woman, she had been back in the back of the auditorium where the projection booth would be, managing everything. And she came back and she said, "What's wrong with you? You're messing everything up." And I was still standing near there. Well, she then looks at me. She says, "Just go home." She said to the custodian, "Just go home." She looked at me and she remembered me because I had been on the stage crew the year before for the performance that we did of My Fair Lady, and so I had been there, but I never learned anything more than just how to push sets here and there and all that stuff. And she said, "Ah, good, you're from the stage crew. You know the lighting. You do the lighting." And I said, "Okay." So she goes back, and I'm looking at all these things, and I didn't know what was what, but what the heck? And so I tried turning one on, and then another one. I couldn't see what was going on, and pretty soon she's back there. And she said, "What the hell are you doing?" This Marine woman. And she says, "I thought you knew what you were doing. Get out of here." So I stepped out of there, but it was a remarkable day where I became the ticket giver, the ticket taker, the brochure giver, the interviewer of Tim Morgan. I got to play his guitar a little bit. About the cat came back. And then I got to be an introducer, and then briefly I got to be the light operator, and then I got kicked out. But that made my day. There's another day of Don Ray winging it, and we'll look forward to more.